Hi, I'm Karen Lobdell, Director of Product Management at Integration Point, and this is your straight-to-the-point update for the week of July 16, 2018. On July 10th, the U.S. Trade Representative, the USTR, released a Federal Register notice in the ongoing trade dispute with China, proposing an additional list of China imports worth approximately $200 billion that could be subject to an additional 10% tariff. This list continues the Trump administration's remedies pursuant to the USTR's Section 301 investigation regarding China's acts, policies, and practices related to technology transfer, intellectual property, and innovation that were determined to be unreasonable and discriminatory and a burden to U.S. commerce. This action is in direct response to China's retaliation against the initial tariffs implemented on China imports by the USTR back on June 15th of this year. It's important to note that this latest list impacts 6,031 eight-digit subheadings and 9,554 fully declarable harmonized tariff schedule numbers. There are only 2 HS numbers overlapping with existing additional duties that are currently being imposed, and that overlap is between the aluminum tariffs and the second list of the Section 301. It is unknown at this time whether importers with the overlaps are actually going to be charged with both measures or if one of them will be removed. We'll have to keep an eye on that to see how it progresses. If these 9,554 HS numbers are indeed charged with this additional 10% tariff, plus we add in the 1,665 HS numbers impacted by the previous list, we are talking about 11,219 fully declarable HS numbers with additional duties imposed due to the Section 301 actions. That is 54% of the HS schedule, so a very, very large list. In response to President Trump's actions, China's Commerce Ministry stated that Beijing will continue to fight back with qualitative and quantitative measures if these additional tariffs are ultimately implemented. These qualitative and quantitative measures could include additional duties on U.S. exports, or it could be something along the lines of a business application-related measure that impacts the movement of goods, such as a delay in the clearance of customs on U.S. exports into China, or perhaps delays or refusals to grant licensing or permits, or delays in moving forward with merger and acquisition agreements. In turn, President Trump threatened that if China increases tariffs again in retaliation for this latest move, the U.S. will, quote-unquote, meet that action by pursuing additional tariffs on another $200 billion worth of goods. If tensions continue to escalate, the U.S. will have targeted over $450 billion worth of Chinese imported products, which may effectively cover all imports from China. But it's not China alone where we're seeing these issues with tariffs and increases in tariffs. On July 6th, Russia implemented retaliatory duties on U.S. exports as well. This list covers goods such as vehicles for the transport of goods, road construction equipment, oil and gas equipment, tools for metal processing, and rock drilling, and fibers. The total number of HS numbers affected is 79, and these duties range from 25 to 40% additional duties, which is a relatively hefty number. Chapters impacted are chapters 82, 84, 87, and 90. And these new additional duties took place again on July 6th. As with previous lists proposed by the USTR, this most recent list of proposed China tariffs that was just recently announced, this third list, will also undergo a notice and comment period in which the public and other stakeholders will have the opportunity to voice their opinions. The key dates to take note of are as follows. July 27th will be the due date for filing all requests to appear, along with planned testimony for the public hearings. August 17th will be the final due date or deadline for submission of any written comments, and the public hearing will take place on August 20th through 23rd in Washington, D.C. at the U.S. Trade Commission offices. August 30th will be the deadline for submission of post-hearing rebuttal comments. All submissions should be made at www.regulations.gov using docket number USTR-2018-0026. There are a couple additional areas also to take note of this week. A reminder that the deadline for submitting comments on the second list of proposed Section 301 China tariffs is rapidly approaching. In fact, it's this week on July 20th, with the public hearing coming up next week on July 24th. If your company is impacted by this second list of China tariffs, you want to make sure you get your comments submitted in a timely manner by deadline this week. And for those of you in the automotive sector, the deadline for submitting comments on the Section 232 investigation was completed on last Friday, July 13th. Over 2,000 comments were submitted on this issue. In fact, 2,356 in total were submitted. And the public hearing is scheduled to take place this week, July 19th and 20th, in Washington, D.C. as well. And finally, we have the exclusion process that was announced and underway for the 25% tariffs on imports from China classified under the initial list, which had 818 separate harmonized tariff schedule number subheadings, and that went into effect on July 6th. The list of what needs to be included or should be included on exclusion request is pretty detailed. We won't go through it in depth on this particular webcast. However, you can get those details by accessing the Federal Register notice. We have a link on the slide shown here, which will provide you with further details. What's important to note with regards to the exclusion process is that each request must specifically identify a particular product. So they're product specific. If you have multiple products that you are going to be needing an exclusion for, you are going to have to do an exclusion request for each and every one of them. You're not going to be able to put them all on one exclusion request. And you're going to need to provide supporting data and rationale for each requested exclusion. Identifying the product by company or brand name or trademarks or producer is not relevant. It's all based on identifying the particular product. The 10-digit subheading HS is they're actually requesting that you exclude that information. They're not looking for that 10-digit HS number. You'll also be including information regarding the quantity and value of the Chinese origin product that you typically purchase in the last three years for the item that's going to be excluded, and estimate that to the best of your ability if you don't have exact numbers. Also important to note whether the particular product that's being requested for exclusion is available only from China, or whether the product is also, or a comparable product is available from sources in the U.S. or perhaps a third country. Also, whether the additional duties on this particular product would cause severe economic harm to the requester or to other U.S. interests. And finally, it will be important to note whether the particular product is strategically important or related to China's Made in China 2025 program. So they'll be looking specifically for information in those areas, as well as any information you may have on the ability of U.S. Customs to enforce the exclusion should it be requested. And again, requests can be viewed at www.regulations.gov under docket number USTR 2018-0025. It's important to note that the exclusion requests are being posted on this site under that docket number, and once posted, the public actually has 14 days to comment on those exclusion requests, and replies to the comments must be done within 7 days of those postings. As the exclusions are product specific, not company or brand specific, this is going to require companies to monitor the activity on an ongoing basis to determine whether exclusions have been submitted and or granted that could apply to their own products. The deadline for exclusion requests is October 9th of this year, 2018, and if granted, these exclusions will be retroactive to July 6th of 2018. So this is really quite an onerous process for companies to take should they be requesting an exclusion or monitoring exclusion requests. As always, in an environment where global regulations change this quickly, it's important for all companies to continue to monitor and stay up to date with countries where they import into and export out of. Global Trade Content at Integration Point is monitoring and updating tariff schedules for over 205 countries and territories on a daily basis to assist you with meeting these goals. We'll continue to monitor these ongoing regulation changes as they take place and provide regular updates through our straight-to-the-point videos. As always, thank you for listening.